Oh. People keep saying that, but it's going to be just fine. Have a good time.
Ready, Michelle? Good. Go ahead and call a meeting to order. And first off, we will have our citizenship award presented by Mr. Cooper.
Oh, right off the bat.
Right off the bat.
Okay, I just wanted to introduce to you Ariel Staplin back here. She is an option student. She has been there for 3 years. This is her 3rd year with Ariel. She's completed 40 classes for 20 credits and maintained an A average and is easily on track to graduate next year. She's an excellent writer. She participated in the EHS journalism class this year and is earning high grades. She demonstrated a broad interest, including taking electives like introduction to agriculture, pre-veterinarian, animal systems, business law, digital media arts, life science, and pharmacy technician.
Wow.
She says her current focus is definitely in the areas related to language arts. She completes all her own work. Not everybody does. Appreciate that you do. And finishes classes on time, and the quality of her work is usually outstanding, as you can imagine. Options is proud to nominate Ariel Staplin for the April Citizenship.
All right. Well, congratulations, Ariel. If you would lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, I'd appreciate that. That'd be great. We don't want that now. Anytime you're ready.
Allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America, to the republic. Thank you for doing that. And you don't have to, yeah, you don't have to stay. All right, so next up is public comment. We do have one person who has signed up for public comment. And since it's been a while, I'm just gonna read a part of the public comment. You'll have 30 minutes. 30 minutes, sorry. We allow a total of 30 minutes for all commenters, and we'll have 3 minutes total for each person. We only have one tonight. While speakers may, during a public meeting, offer objective criticism of school operations and programs. The board will not hear personal complaints concerning district personnel, nor against any person connected with the school system. So please state your name and address prior at the beginning. If you're here for an organization or in behalf of an organization, please state the organization name. And Michelle will have 3 minutes on the board. So whenever you're ready, go ahead.
I have a girl attending high school. I have a daughter who I'm going to transition back to school next year. First off, I'd like to thank you guys. I feel like anybody who's going to volunteer their time deserves kind of a round of applause. It takes a lot. I am frustrated not just with you, but with the state of Oregon altogether. I have yet to see you guys debate or disagree on anything. When I watched you vote, it's all in favor, all an aye. I watched good teachers get fired. I watched staff be let go simply because they would not hand me vaccination cards. I watched volunteers and children be segregated and fall under different regulations of what they needed to do based on vaccine status, and that's not okay. I watched, through the years that I came, I've just watched you continually agree. And as that might sound nice, it might look good on paper in the board meetings, you shouldn't. If you are representing all of our kids and all of us, you shouldn't always be agreeing. You should be debating issues. You should be discussing what's going on or what's in the best interest of these kids. We have buildings that are in disrepair. We have heats at the high school that don't work. My son went to school and it's 30 degrees outside, 30 degrees in the school. He still had to go to school that day, masked for his safety. That's unacceptable. We have a football field, stadium that's condemned. They said we couldn't go in, but then we can go in and then we can't. Because you chose to follow those guidelines, the school received 3 different ESSER funds. $364,892 was the first release. The second release, this is all public information, I'm happy to share it with you. The second release was $1,665,371. The third release, which has not been fully claimed, was $3,742,811. Where's the transparency of where that money is being spent? And why is it being spent on our children? Why do we have things that are in disrepair? Why do we have buildings that are leaking? We have buckets. We lost 2 kids to suicide. We lost teachers to being fired, but we didn't lose anybody to COVID. Now I have a child who, in my opinion, is not really trying. He's fully passing his classes. And you guys want to say we're above the state standard. When our state's at 30%, if our numbers are not over 15%, what that says to me, 50% of the kids are failing and they're being left behind. There's kids that are, we can push them through, but that's not doing that. We owe it to our children. Let's quit comparing ourselves to the least of the area. As a national standard, Oregon is way down there. Part of it is because our schools were shut down for so long. And I understand that, but let's start fighting for our kids again. Let's start standing up to things. Talking about money, when I look at the budget, and just 2 more seconds, I'll be super quick. When I look over the budget, and it's nothing against Gary and Michelle, I know they probably do a good job, but when I see in our budget, the office of the superintendent's $371,000. Out of that, $1,800 is a gas fund. Just asking, did you guys disagree on that, or did we just all vote in favor of it immediately? Start fighting for all of us.
Thank you. All right, so we'll move on to move approval of last month's minutes.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting. Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Thank you. Enrollment report.
This is our enrollment as of April 1st, 2023. Elmira Elementary has an average class size of 22.67 and Veneta at 24.57. Elementary is up 10 students from budgeted numbers. The middle school is actually exactly where we budgeted, and the high school is down 46 from budgeted numbers. From the 21-22 year, we are up 20, but we are down 36 from what we projected for this year. Does the board have any questions on that?
Do you have any indication of why it's down? I mean, is there a trend or?
I don't. Gary, do you?
Well, I remember we at this time of the year, we guess what it's going to be
right.
The following year. So, like Juana said, we guessed that more kids, all schools in Oregon lost kids during the pandemic. We had to throw a dart and guess how many were going to return. Our numbers are up 20 from where they were the previous year. What we budgeted at was hoping it would be closer to 50. Well, it wasn't. Families choosing other options that they have, that kind of thing. So we're in the same boat now. We're kind of guessing how many students we're going to have next year. That number is never really, we rarely hit it spot on. So nothing in particular that I can point to. It's relatively consistent. I think next year we're projecting about the same, right, Juana?
Slightly more than we are right now, because we're about 20 above, you know, budgeted numbers. So we're about, I think we're budgeting about 20 more than we have currently. But yeah, well, we projected pretty conservatively.
Another element is a small piece, but once we hit second semester, which we're in now, we tend to lose a half dozen seniors that graduated at the semester.
Okay.
I don't know how many were in that boat this year, but several. You can see that, you know, currently we have 78 eighth graders or 78 seniors. So we would expect, as long as we get more than 78 kindergartners coming in, that we're going to go up slightly.
And we're down 36. Is that what?
Well, from the budget,
I'm asking
yeah, we're up. We have about 20 more kids at this time than we did last year. We're down 36 from a number we guessed at the budget on.
And where is that? Where is that deficit at?
It's mostly at the high school. We're down 46 at the high school.
And the high school numbers encompass options too. Like kids that have decided to do options.
Correct. Like Gary did say, though, some students, you know, can graduate early and that whatnot. The high school is usually the number that fluctuates quite a bit the second half of the year.
All right, any other questions? All right, next is the general fund revenue and expenditure report.
All right, this is as of March 31st. We've received 91% of our revenue. Last year, we were at 90%, so just slightly above that. We're going on track to receive probably slightly more than we budgeted. As far as operating expenditures, we have spent 60%. We did have a triple pay last month for licensed employees if they chose that option. So you'll see salary is about 100,000 more than it is in previous months. This time last year, we had spent 56%. So we're up a little bit as far as our operating expenditures compared to last year, but not a whole lot. That's all I have, unless the board has any questions on anything.
Can you explain for the audience what triple pay is?
Yeah, so the licensed employees have the option to receive their July and August paychecks in March or in June. And it's usually about, I don't know, 20% maybe choose the option in March. And the rest get it in June. And our classified employees, our instructional assistants, the 10-monthers, they get their triple pay in June as well. So that number goes up quite a bit between all of them.
And I just want to point out that the forest revenue that we have received, we have to actually pay back, or it's a pass-through to the state.
Correct. Yeah. And we, fortunately, this year, we did receive forest revenue, but it was early enough in the year that I was able to report it to ODE. So they have adjusted our payments this year. So that's nice when that happens, because then it's not hitting us next year. Usually I'll have to put money in reserve because I know they're gonna, you know, withdraw those funds out of our payments next year. But hopefully we don't get any. I mean, we still have a couple more months. But basically you can report it to them up until December, and then anything you receive after that, it's adjusted in next year's state school fund payments to you.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, any other questions? We do need board action to approve revenue.
I move that we accept the board financial report as given.
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. All right, we are ready for the Benita Elementary presentation.
Hi.
Hello.
Benita Elementary, we are having a great year, like we usually do. Go ahead. And the next one. Okay, so we have 350 students this year, 14 classrooms, 1 prepared learning center, 22 certified and 22 classified. And the next slide is going to show you what our numbers did. So it's interesting. Is there a way to pull it so we can see those totals? Oh, because it's not good streaming. So I don't know. What do I? Because this kind of speaks to what we were talking about with the enrollment increase. You need the whole screen shot, right? So I'll shoot these numbers down here.
You just write them on the screen.
You know, I have the presentation. Okay, so we took a big dip during COVID. And when we started getting kids back in 2021, we started out in September with 282 kids. By last April, when I gave my report, we were at 315 kids. This September, we started out with 357. So we regained most of our population. During the 6 years I've been there, we've had anywhere between 350 and 369. I don't think we've ever hit 370. So we started solidly where we were. We're down at 350 right now, just through kids moving. Not too worried about it, but we are solidly where we were before COVID. So we are, everything's just starting to go the way it used to be. Go ahead to the next one. So new staff. Ruth Lewis is our Title I teacher. In the past, we've shared Mary Jones half the time with Elmira. And this year, I think it's this year and next, maybe that we get to have Ruth Lewis a full teacher. And Ashley Foltz we hired as a 1-2 teacher. Sarah Malloy is a kindergarten teacher. Ashley was a permanent hire. Sarah was a 1-year temp. We have Cassie Cologne, the ELD teacher, shared between all 4 schools. We have 4 substitute IAs who've really come through for us. We were having all sorts of staffing issues, especially with aides. And I put out a parent square in January, asking for any parents who could come help us out. And we got a couple dads who went and got background checks who said they're available. We have Lynn is a grandmother at our school. She now works 6.5 hours a day, subbing for the rest of the year. Linda is a neighbor who lives around the block. Darby and Megan are both parents, and they both came at that same time. And they've all just worked out schedules so that they fill all of our positions for the rest of the year. And the union has been really good with agreeing that they can be there that long, because generally aides can't, we can't have people that long, but there were no viable people who wanted actual jobs. And so they have really helped us out. Okay, so because we had our new full-time title teacher, we were able to, as a staff, create a new schedule. And we put in it, so we have our 90 minutes of ELA, 90 minutes of math, but we also put in the schedule 30 minutes of win time in ELA for every grade level, except for kindergarten, we've got 20. It's what I need time. So, people used to call it walk to read or walk to math, right? It's basically every kid gets something at their level. So it's besides the whole core program or Wonders program, it's outside of that. And so every kid, if they're exceptionally high, they may go to a teacher who's teaching novels. If they're lower, they may go to a teacher who's really good and has 2 or 3 kids in their group teaching phonics. So it's whatever they need during that time. We were only able to do this because of the full-time title teacher. It just added enough staffing that we were able to arrange this for everyone. So every student, besides kinder, gets the 120 minutes of ELA, 30 minutes of WIN. In math, we focused, so the WIN in ELA, we focused as much as we could, gave priority to first and second grade so that we could kind of get them caught up from COVID losses. The math, we found that really the kids who needed the help were third, fourth, fifth graders. And so that's what we focused on. We didn't have enough time in the schedule to get everyone a math one for every level. So we focused on third, fourth, fifth. Everyone else gets title services pull out for math. So everyone gets small group, but not the young group classes don't necessarily get, the higher kids don't get a pull out for math. We have 5 data team meetings a year. We used to have 3. We just couldn't, Mary Jones couldn't run all of them at both schools. So we're able to do that now. We look at student data. We have them all this week. You guys can drop by if you want, feel free. And then we respond with interventions or change interventions. There was some concern about that win time being so intensive, like having so many kids out for so much. Like, I mean, some of these kids are getting 2 hours of reading a day. And so the staff asked that they could look at it mid-year. We revisited it. We looked at results from easy CBMs and everyone decided to stay the course. So we're staying the course this year. We'll reassess in June based on the end of the year data and see whether we're going to do WIN for 1 more year while we still have this full-time title teacher. So we have a new ELA curriculum this year, Wonders, and I just wanted to show you kind of what it looks like. The thing that teachers like about it is that every grade level has a reading writing companion. So it's a consumable book for every unit. So kindergarten, this is this week's kindergarten. You can read what it says. Basically, the thing that teachers are liking about it is that every grade level is asked to find text evidence. So 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders, when they get to state testing, that's what they have to do in state testing, is text evidence. So here are kindergartners having to underline the word have. So they're writing in here, draw a box around the animal that's not a pet, right? So when I taught 3rd grade, I was having to go out and I was having to buy highlight tape or do something creative so that kids could show text evidence. Here, the whole program we have, they can just do it right in this book. The next one is just a show the 4th grade one. So 4th grade, same kind of thing. You can see that on the side, they're supposed to find text evidence and they're able to just draw a circle, do whatever they need to do in their book. It's pretty nice. Math, we continue to use Eureka Math. The scripted lessons. The bummer about Eureka Math is that teachers have to copy off all the work daily or weekly. Our paper budget is crazy. A pallet of paper is $1,800 right now. And we go through 3 to 4 pallets. So it really busts the budgets. We're doing an adoption this year. And we have two teachers at Bonita on the committee. Elmira has 2, both principals, and then Michelle's heading it up. And one of the things we're looking at is the Eureka Math, but it's the one that has a consumable book. It may be that it's cost effective now.
Oh,
or maybe not. I'm looking at you. Maybe not cost effective. Okay, there you go. And then you can also use Rocket Math and online Rocket Math for additional quotes. We still have social emotional learning time, 30 minutes set into the schedule. This is for teaching bullying prevention, child protection unit, the SEL curriculum, which is like how to get along, basically. Kelso's choices, to deal with small problems, go see a grown-up about big problems. Roots of Empathy is back this year. That's the one with the babies.
Yeah.
We only have 1 classroom that has it, and you'll see a picture in just a sec. And then also a reminder that Ashley Fisher spends her time between both elementaries and meets weekly with small groups. Right now, she just started a middle school transition group. So it's a great opportunity for our kids. Okay, just some pictures. This is just some SEL being taught in kindergarten. Kelso's choice, if you haven't ever seen the wheel of small problems and ways to solve them. And then this is our baby this year. So Angie Pepper's 1st grade has the Roots of Empathy baby. And for anyone who's out here who doesn't know Roots of Empathy, it's a worldwide program where a baby is brought in they do it with first or second graders, I think is the only ones that they'll do. They bring a trainer in. Ours happens to be Lori Dosher, who's been a teacher in the district. And then they bring a mother with a baby in. I think to start with, the baby has to be very young. Yeah, that's 3 months, 4 months, something like that.
Yeah, the baby grows with the class.
Right. Yeah, your baby grows with the class, and it needs to be a community member. So this is, do you remember Savannah Archer? That's Savannah Archer's baby. She went to Benita, and the trainer comes in. Baby only comes one time a month for 30 minutes. The trainer comes in another time during the month and just tells the kids what they're going to be looking for the next time, what they may see as far as changes. And the baby comes, you'll see the green mat the baby's on. Kids are not allowed to touch the baby. The baby stays on the mat the whole time, and they just observe. They use observational skills and tell what's changed. And it's truly to get kids empathetic. And so studies have shown long-term that students worldwide who have been in this program have fewer detentions in jail, that they have fewer incidences of domestic violence. So this is our chance at seeing that.
And that's all part of the
90
by 30.
Yeah, we don't pay anything for it. They supply it. Just the staff professional development, all staff certified or classified are still in PLCs this year. I'm still going to mentor meetings. We have people involved in RTI conference and math adoption. That up there that you can't read says other opportunities for our kids and fun, I think it says. So just a list of things. I'm going to show you some pictures of most of these things. OBOB music bi-weekly that's paid for with some of our TAG grant money. Ukulele residency happening in January. We have an after school club. SMART is back also in person. So our suites, you probably remember seeing our suite people that come. You know, they all held off during COVID and were worried about health, obviously, and they're back with a vengeance this year. So go ahead and let's go to the next, to some of the pictures now. So this is our winning OBOB team from Benita Elementary. They are the Thunderbooks. So we had a big poster, Thunderbooks poster on the wall, cheering them on. These were some of the classroom or the school battles. This is Nate Bondurant. I don't know how many of you know Raina. She has taught fitness classes out in this area. She's done a lot of things. Her husband writes OBOB questions for the middle school. He's totally into it. Their daughter's in 4th grade. And his work gives him 40 hours a year of volunteer time that they pay him for. And so he chose to use it on OBOB. And he's going to do it next year also. Isn't it the sweetest thing? I know. And he's totally into it. And he has slide presentations for them every Friday. And they are all—
That's so much work.
I know. I took it on 1 year and never again. God bless them. You know, most of the kids do it because they want to read, but they also love the blizzard that they get at the end. Yeah. Not gonna lie, $3.59 or whatever I paid for. Okay. Sluggo reading assembly again, fun, but we still try to get the kids reading. These are just, so this is some smart reading. Some of our 2nd grade smart readers. This was Rainbow Day. This girl, we do spirit days every month. Rainbow Day and partner reading all at the same time. So these are buddy classrooms, a 4th grade and a 1st grade classroom that buddy up. This was the 100th day of school. And I've never understood why he's so depressed looking when he's 100, because I sure hope that aging doesn't do that. This is 5th grade singing. Amy Humphrey is the one who comes in and does that with them. Talent show. So some fun things that we do. We had a lot of talent last week. Did you get that?
Yeah, I saw your video.
These 3 boys were dancing the Macarena. And they did it over and over and over again. And it was the cutest thing I've ever seen. But they were just going for it.
Does the staff still do?
But
Does the staff still?
yes, we did a short something, not a dance at the end. We did a musical thing. And then we had the ukulele residency. We were able to buy with foot grant, use SIA, bought the ukuleles for the kids. So we now have those in the school, have a set of 30 ukuleles. Okay, PALS, this is our parent group. We don't have a PTA. We have the Parent Action League for students. PALS is a huge part of our school and has been for a long time. Right now, the president is Janie Patrick. If you know Janie, she just goes a million miles an hour with everything she does. So these are some things that during the year PALS pays for. $200 per classroom for supplies, $500 for field trips, which it sounds like a lot, but it gets you like a bus and admittance to one thing. I mean, it's just not much, but you know, if they combine classes, sometimes they can go on a couple of field trips. They pay for assemblies. Assemblies used to run about $400 an assembly. The last one, well, you'll see pictures, Wildlife Safari charged us $850 for one 50-minute assembly. So it's spending right now to get anyone to come to school. They hold a monthly kudos store to reward students. Tomorrow is our kudos store day if anyone wants to come, help out. They choose a large project each year. They do the book fair, bounce house. They just kind of do everything for us. They are just amazing. They make school fun for kids. Not that we don't. This was the Wildlife Safari Assembly. And they brought OMSI in, which was fun. And then they always do a large project. So this year's large projects, they bought new basketball backboards. We had a family whose grandfather passed away and they donated $6,000 or $7,000 to PALS to do something. So they bought the basketball backboards with part of that. I think those, you'll see them in just a sec. The glass backboards just on two sides cost like $11,000. They're very, very expensive. But they replaced those. They put a new teeter-totter on the playground. The installation actually just finished last night, and there are a bunch of high school kids out in the rain right now putting bark mulch around it because Janie tells them to. She said her son is in trouble right now. He's doing it. At the last meeting, one of the parents brought up the fact that the signage in our VES library is outdated. Not interesting to kids. And they said, well, what do you think it's going to take to update signage in here? And so she and I researched a little bit and we said, you know, a couple thousand, and they're like, sure. So, I mean, it's just awesome that, you know, they're not just looking at sports things, although that kind of looks like what it is generally, but they're really interested in just making a better experience for our kids. And then they had Alan Jeffers make 2 sets of soccer balls for the backfield. One thing I just wanted to make sure I acknowledge this because it's a huge project. It finished up right in March of 2020. And I'm not sure that this ever came before the board, but the PALS, were you on PALS then? Yeah. They purchased purple mats lining the gym walls, made it a safer gym for us. I believe, do you remember it was like $12,000 or something for them? And then the installation would have been cost prohibitive. But Andrea and Troy Shepard, a little plug for being our sheet metal, pulled their crews off of other projects and spent 2 days in the VES gym installing it all at their own cost. I bought them Subway sandwiches. So that was a pretty good deal. And so some pictures of those. These are the back boards. This is what the signage, some of the signage is going to look like. Super cute. Nice. And then we're a beautiful gym. All of the mats along this side.
Wow, that looks really nice.
Doesn't it? Yeah. Okay. Anything that you guys have for me?
On your WIN program, who decides where the child's going to go? Is it the reading teacher? Is it the teacher? Or does the kid get the
Classroom teachers meet with the reading teacher and they look at and the special education teacher. So they look at all the aids available during that time.
And so like in second grade, we have 6, 7, plus the 2 teachers, 8, 9, plus sped, what's that? 13 people available for groups for those 50 kids. And then they decide what those groups will look like. At every data team, they change those groups based on the need of the kids.
That roots of empathy, I don't remember that being there when I was at, that, is that new or? I think that's great.
They've been trying to get us to do it for a long time and we were reluctant.
Like 5 years.
Yeah. So we did it like 7 years ago, and then we stopped, and then we've been trying to get it back in.
Yeah, I think we did it for 2 solid years where we had a lot of like, so you have to have a trainer with every baby and 2 different baby, like a baby for each of the classes. Right?
And Fern Ridge was one of the early schools in Lane County when they were training their trainers, which was a lot of work. And we had some good, some bad. And so you've got to get teacher buy-in because they've got to commit to the program too. And
right. And when we first committed to it, they required that we do it 4 days a month and for an hour each time. And we were not comfortable spending that much time on roots of empathy. Not that it's not a valuable program, but we felt like that was too much. When they proposed it again this year, I said, yeah, but it kind of needs to be cut back. Like my teachers didn't want to spend that much time doing it. They see the value of it, but they were very responsive. So we cut it back to twice a month, 45 minutes to an hour.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's great.
It's a pretty great program. There's a whole book I can give you that. Okay, anything else? Thank you.
good job.
Nice job,
Right,
Lucy. Thank you.
Next up is Ms. Marshall for ESSER expenditures.
Okay. You're gonna pull that up. Okay, I have this on there, and I'll just do like a 30-second thing that might help answer some of the questions that you brought up. So this is for ESSER 3, potential capital projects and expenditures. Anything over $25,000, you guys know we have to come to the board for. A couple of things that we've already done. For ESSER 3, ESSER 1 and 2, you didn't have to do that. So our ESSER 1 was primarily PPE, COVID cleaning supplies, and subs. Our ESSER 2 was primarily same thing, PPE, cleaning supplies, because you can only use ESSER dollars for unfinished learning, learning loss, health and safety, or keeping your schools running, HVAC. That's why everybody's using it for HVAC, because it's super expensive and schools just, they don't have those kind of dollars. So our ESSER 2 is primarily PPE. Our math curriculum is over $250,000 that we released ESSER for. Our summer programming, even though the state gave us about $250,000 to run a full program, we had to add to that with ESSER dollars, and after school clubs. So then for ESSER 3, which is this huge amount that we just are starting to dig into, there's some things that we can do. One, we're definitely still, ESSER 3, you have to use 20% of the dollars, which is about $750,000 in total for summer programming or outside of school hours learning. Summer programming is the easiest way to do that. So that's the way we've been doing it, summer program and after school club. So $750,000 has to go to that, of that $3 million. Then we will probably use another $250,000 at least to help support the math adoption, because Eureka, just the like one quote, $280,000 for K5. That's just K5 for 7 years is how long we buy it for. So it will be expensive, but then we've got this kind of, you have to spend it by September of 2024. So we can't have it allocated and have a project going through the 2025 school year. We also don't want to hire a whole bunch of people that we will have to just fire and or lose. So we're trying to find a balance of adding these staff or bringing in artists in residence or things like that that are temporary. After all of that is said and done, it looks like we're going to have about $1 million that we can look at capital improvements. And not to say that we haven't already been doing some, like the last one that you guys approved was $85,000 for HVAC. So, and we used $85,000 from ESSER 2. So here are the things that we did from our long range planning that we've been doing over the last couple of years to try to get the awesome grant. We brought in that company. They walked through every building. They spent 2 weeks here. And they've given us a list of like different items for every building. These are not all of the items because not every item would even qualify under ESSER 3. So what we've done is we've taken the list of everything, and I've kind of gone through and said, I think I can argue this. I think I can argue this. I think I can argue this, because it's either, again, it has to be for capital improvements. It has to have a direct correlation to health and safety. So like carpet replacement district-wide, I can say that some of our carpets are so gross, our custodians are spending a lot of time having to get them to a clean level. So you can argue to upgrade with a better carpet or a hard surface. There's different things that you can do there. Auto scrubbers, we can get better tools for our custodians and our people that are doing the work, then our schools will be cleaner, hence health and safety for our kids. The mower one, I don't know how, you know, if you can keep better ground outside, you can do more outside, which is physical distancing. There's lots of different things you can do. You know, there's a push for trying to open up your windows. Well, we don't really have that option, but if it's a beautiful day, you can go outside, sure. So these are all the different things. Not all of them are over 25,000, but I wanted the board to get an idea of some of the projects that we're looking at. Also, this is way more than $1 million. So what I would like, if you guys don't have any questions, I mean, look through it and let me know. Some things we've already done, like the intercom phone replacement. We were able to do that at the high school already. So I know I feel good about that. The asbestos removal, that's huge. It's something that nobody will see or know that happened. $210,000 on the low end.
Where is
These
that?
are just this is just the high school.
Where is the asbestos?
They're in like the popcorn ceilings and different things. So it's not something that's impacting now, but you
eventually,
can, yes, right. And you have to do trainings, and you have to make sure that staff members and your maintenance team knows where it is, so that if you ever do the work in that room, you've got to do abatement.
Right.
So
so you said HVAC, I'm assuming they already fixed it, because it seems like.
Oh no, we're working on it consistently. The HVAC to fix it, this one would be $5 million. I mean, we've essentially redone almost all of Fern Ridge, most of the middle school. Where we're at right now is control systems and upgrading some of the technology, and then just getting everything back up to an appropriate functioning level. Anyway, so this is the list that we're hoping the board kind of agrees to any of these. And what I would do is take this list. We need to talk with our maintenance team and see, could this even happen by the end of September of 24? And then talk with admin, what is the highest priority needs for them? So if you go up to Vanita, Lisa already is aware of all of these things. There are definitely things that she wants on that list over the others. So kind of prioritizing what has the biggest impact for kids and teachers. So questions about any of that?
So the list was made up with the admin's input on that?
Yes, and well, this list is taken from our long range planning facilities work that we did, which was a whole community committee over a course of a year. And then it's like probably a 60-page document. And I just took that list and I said, these are the things that I think could be here. And then from here, we'll talk with admin, work as a team, work with our maintenance, because some of this, things like the walking track, you could probably get that done in 2 weeks, hire somebody in and out. Whereas the carpet replacement, if you can't get that scheduled out, get it shipped, get it in the building, get it, you know, we just don't know if it can happen. There's only so many different pockets of windows of time that you can do things. So some of the things, they're never going to leave the list necessarily, but can we do it with ESSER $3 in the time that we have?
So there's one room. Can you go up, Michelle? No, wrong way. I meant down. The room 24. Yeah, what's up with room 24?
That's a great question. So room 24, from what I understand, is an old classroom in, as you're going through the commons down to the left hallway, right? And it was an art classroom / sped self-contained classroom. And so I guess it's just never been made pretty. You know,
where is it? To say it again.
The middle school. The middle
yeah,
I got middle school, but I want to figure out where.
Go down the steps into the commons.
Uh-huh.
I think you go on the left-hand side. Right down there is our Bridges classroom is on the right-hand side, I believe. On the left-hand side, there's just a room that's super out of date, not.
Oh, is it full of?
They're all
A bunch
wood
of-
shop.
Yeah, and it's just,
So is it not being used right now because of its state?
I don't know, and one of
It
the
is being
things,
used.
Oh, it is.
yeah. One of the things that he thought is that it was supposed to be an art classroom. And so we've had conversations with Olivia. Olivia's like, it's not an art classroom. So.
So you'll also figure out
But it's,
what
I'm
that,
assuming some of that is like technology infrastructure. It probably doesn't have a hanging projector, it probably isn't cabled in, you know, I'm not entirely sure. The Fern Middle School definitely has classroom spaces that don't feel great when you go in them.
Yeah.
Like the home ec classroom spaces, that if we could really be innovative in what we want to do, could we make them better educational and instructional spaces? Do they have to be home ec? No, not that. Could they be a STEM classroom? Could they be a, you know, so it's just hard to know what that will look like. So again, is that a good project? Maybe not. By September of 2024.
well, yeah, that's true.
It's a high priority for the district, but the timing on it's going to be tricky. Whereas like at the high school, we're already in process with the bathroom upgrades out in the commons. So that might be a really good one.
And you have out there outdoor student space. What do you mean with that, with the furniture?
So that's the covered structure area of the middle school in the back.
Yeah.
That would be the middle school's kind of corner of trouble, but it's also the only outdoor space for kids
That's covered.
that's covered. So, but it's rotting and yucky, and it's actually very unsafe to some degree. That has to come down regardless. So the plan to replace that and or do something different, you know, EC Cares will be moving to Veneta soon, so they have a little playground space that we could essentially develop. Try to think of some sort of outdoor space. We've talked about in front here. We've talked about kind of back by the gym area. Could we do something back there? It's just trying to figure out what that looks like. And the cost, you just don't even know. Regardless, the outdoor structure is going down this summer due to safety.
And is there more asbestos? I mean, that is like a rolling.
I'm gonna talk about a little bit in my report, but we just had all of our building reports done and they're all finalized. We have a book. So we have 4 buildings. Elmira Elementary has no asbestos. This
is pretty new.
All of the, like if you take the high school, I think there's 5 different spots. All of them are safe. It's just if you wanted to abate them, so you don't have to continue to be trained and make sure we're checking off all the boxes around it, then you could abate it for $42,000 or whatever this cost is. So each building has a few things like upward ceiling in the library in our school is one. There's a couple classrooms that have a drop ceiling below the popcorn ceiling that's above it. Maybe there's a pipe wrapped in asbestos tape in one of the maintenance rooms at $500 to abate. So we're going to be deciding, again, we can leave it all as it is, make sure our people are trained how to deal with asbestos if they were to come across it. But we can also look into abating it, getting rid of it, and not to deal with these reports that are required every 3 years around what's occurring in your building. If anybody's interested in seeing one of those reports per building, they're around 50 pages long. I'd send one, you can kind of see how it identifies the specific spots it is in a building, what we could do, what the requirements are. But we just got all that updated.
I always heard, well, because I had to do something similar to my parents' house when they passed, and I had to sell that, and it wasn't, asbestos isn't really dangerous until you start moving it. Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's what the asbestos abatement right now would help us in the future when we're doing upgrades as a district. It just saves us money. Any other questions regarding any of it? I think really the biggest thing and what we could do potentially is we could communicate what things. I don't think we will go through and do an ODE application for each of these items. We'll just keep narrowing the list down, but we do have to, one, we have to get board approval, then we have to do the application for ODE and kind of justify and do a description and a cost and which thing does it tick off the box, health and safety, unfinished learning, or day-to-day operations.
Do you have to wait a month for the next meeting for board approval?
I think board approval happens in board meetings.
But when is it finalized? Because I mean, I see lots of question marks.
It can't be finalized until, I mean, so
When we have to be vote on something that
Is it?
it's uncertain.
Well, I think
The question.
your decision tonight is, do you want us to submit these projects, the exact cost of what it's gonna cost, the fence, the playground entry to Elmira Elementary, for example. We haven't went out and gotten bids for that. It could be 8,000, it could be 14,000. So I don't know that it's so much, if the board was concerned, well, we want to know exact numbers, we could do that, but it's going to take us months to get quotes. I think we want to narrow it down to the exact projects we want to do. Okay, let's pursue quotes. We have to go through bidding process, get 3 quotes. When we submit to ODE, even we won't be exact. We'll say not to exceed this number. You know, we'll probably pick something high. So we want to take the perimeter fencing and EES. We might know that, and I'll just talk to our new facilities guy who's a contractor. He said, yeah, no way it's going to cost more than 20,000. We'd say, okay, we're submitting this perimeter fencing. Here's the reasoning, not to exceed 20 grand. Okay, they give us an approval. Then we'll go out and pay for it.
So you had quotes for the rooms, that there was 150,000.
We haven't had an exact quote for any of these.
these are estimates from
Our
the,
maintenance folks giving us ballpark.
and I guess one thing that the board could do is they could go down each area, like district wide. Are you okay with us looking into carpet replacement? Because that's really all it
So
needs
it's
to
just
be.
the idea.
These
These are good ideas and where to spend.
Yes, because I can't really do any next step if it's over 25,000. Like I could take off walking track and just, or I could try to say, oh, we'll only work on projects that are $24,999 and under. But if it's going to be over $25,000, the board has to review and be aware of and approve.
So then what's the next step? If we say, yes, we think you should go after these projects, it's a good idea, then what happens?
So then the next step will be Gary, Jeff, James, and myself sitting down and saying what things, because I don't know, Jeff, what could realistically be done by September of 24? Because the dollars have to be spent by that day.
Use it or lose it?
Yes, and definitely want it to be sooner than September of 2024.
Yeah.
Right? So our goal would probably be, you know, I would imagine we'll go into the summer a bit, but so it'll kind of look through, is this even possible? Yes or no? Okay, move that back to the facilities plan, you know. Then it would be talking with building administrators. Okay, here are the things that we think we could do within the timeline. What's the highest priority? What's the biggest bang for the buck? What's the, you know.
And did you?
Then we apply to ODE.
Yeah, then I gotta apply to ODE for each item. Like it can't
But
be.
like, what we get to know again, okay, here's what we decided that we think we can get done by September 2024. And
Are you gonna come back?
Yeah, I can do that.
for a final, you know, what, you know, this is to me like.
Well, we could just keep you updated as you go too. I mean, you're gonna be hearing a lot of different things. We also have our integrated planning tool, which is online under the district and state reports that's submitted, our ESER plan. So we have that too, which anything that gets approved through ODE, I have to add to that plan.
We've probably already done a dozen plus capital projects with ESER money. Maybe at some point we could share exactly what.
Yeah, like the Elmira Elementary Playground, that was $85,000. So we had, but I don't think we had to come to the board because it was ESER $2.
But it had old equipment, it got a new school, but all the
Yeah.
playground equipment was old.
Yeah. Well, we were able to
And dangerous.
expand. Well, yeah, we had some of it, but we were able to expand the size.
Yeah.
Kids, more kids could be outside at a time. They only wanted 20 kids at a time out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think if you come back, you know, and we say, yeah, let's move ahead and take a look at this. Maybe you can come back and say, this is what we thought we could do, and have this list, and then say, here's the list that we can actually.
Is there anything on here that the board says, nope, we're not gonna get behind this?
I just would like to see it all.
Yeah.
Okay,
And the carpet replacement, I'm sorry, you might have said this.
it's for like 17 classrooms probably, district wide.
District.
Yeah, probably none in Elmira Elementary.
This carpet in here is not looking too good either, just FYI.
Well, this one kind of made the list. The district office gets nothing compared to the buildings, right? I mean, that's where everyone.
Not a lot of students come in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't. Who's still?
Vanita has a lot of carpet, and the problem with carpet is that you could say we want to move away from all carpet and go to marmoleum or luxury vinyl, which is not good enough for schools, but the teachers don't love it because it's really, really loud.
Oh.
So
is that harder to stand on too?
yeah, and so you have teachers that want to bring in a bunch of rugs, carpets, and so yep, every single classroom in Elmira and Vanita that have the new floors have tennis balls on their bottoms.
Yep.
It's just, it's tricky. So trying to find that balance, and, you know, kind of like Lisa and I had the conversation, some of those carpets at Vanita are over 30 years old. So if you get the right stuff and you take care of it, it will last and do its job. There's just some that's over 30 years old.
We only know that because I've been there 32 years.
Okay, so I think what we should do is maybe you guys review this list between now and the next one, and we can kind of revisit it. And maybe I can try to get more information if you have any questions, like on the room 24, what would be the plan type thing. I think for the middle school, it's just about improving the facilities in general for more flexibility in instruction and engaging classroom spaces. Would probably be the biggest thing. The band and choir room upgrade, that's an example if they don't have projectors. So buying the projector, installing the projectors, and the cabling it's significant.
There's a lot of these things that were recommended that we didn't have enough money for previously to fix. You know,
yeah, well, all of these came from our long range planning facilities committee. So when they came out here, walked the grounds, and they just made a list, and said, here are all the things that would make your schools better. And so that's where I'm pulling from, and that's where I got most of these amounts. All like the walking track, it said 60,000, and I dropped it to 10,000 because that we wouldn't get a $60,000 walking track at Elmira Elementary. We would get somebody to come in with some equipment, put down some barrier.
So it'd be similar to what was there before.
We don't have a track there anymore.
But there's a sidewalk all the way around the building, which is lovely, and people use it all the time.
So the long range plan was created. Well, they came in and did that, and then the long range was there was people that.
Yeah, there was like 20 of us on that committee.
Right.
We ended up getting a grant.
Since we had that done, we've been knocking off lots of projects every year. Now we have this pool of money. We've continued, you know, like I said, we've already done a dozen projects like this. And if the board wants to wait till next month to approve this, that's fine. I just want to be really clear. What is it that you want to see differently in May than this? Because if we don't approve this till May, then it won't be till May 15th is our next board meeting. It won't be till the end of the May till we submit this to ODE. We're not going to be finding out till June. A lot of these projects won't happen this summer.
I don't have any issues with any of the items. Me personally.
I don't either. I just, I do think that it would be nice if you came back just to share with us what you submitted.
I could do the exact same thing next month and give you like show you the narrowed down list, or, you know, try to make it more specific.
Does the board meet in the summer?
Yes.
Can I ask just what the bathroom upgrades are? Are they going to be doing more individual bathrooms at the high school?
Yes.
For safety reasons and.
Yep, it'll be all gender neutral, single stalls, floor to ceiling.
Right, any other questions? So we can entertain a motion to approve the school board, the potential capital projects for ESSER 3.
I will move that we approve the projects listed on the ESSER 3 potential capital projects and expenditures, with the agreement that Michelle will come back and tell us what she submitted.
It was narrowed down and then submitted.
Or narrowed down and submitted.
Right.
I second that motion.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? I think all said aye. Yes. Our motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thanks for the discussion, Michelle.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, superintendent's report.
Superintendent's report. 4 things to touch on. One, we continue to bargain with OSEA, or we have a meeting today from about 3:15 till 5. It's going okay. Lots of language things we're working on. I don't see anything insurmountable there. It will just take some negotiation. Of course, the biggest thing will be the dollar figure. Is that kind of thing. We're in an environment where, you know, these are some of our employees that are paid the least. Inflation is high. State school fund right now we're expected to be at 9.9 billion, which means the district with the same amount of kids next year, we might get around 2.5% more dollars. So if our revenue is increasing by 2.5%, then it's easy to offer a 2.5% COLA or something close to that with payroll costs. However, you know, folks, or if you take a look at 4J, they've settled at 12, 6, and 4 over 3 years. So 22%. And you know, it's a balancing act because certainly these folks, you know, we're competing with other industries that are paying well. So that's definitely going to be the hardest element of the negotiation is coming to agreement on the financial piece. COLAs, they made their initial offer today, which was significant. It takes some time to digest that and narrow down exactly what it is that we're going to be able to offer in a dollar amount. So bottom line, going well. And we are, you know, here early in April. I'll have a much better sense. We have 2 more meetings on the books. April 26th is our next one, and then the very next Wednesday, a week later, May 3rd or whatever that is. So going well. Tomorrow, we have 3 folks, Michelle, and Mr. Graham is going to the Portland Educator Job Fair. There are a list of open jobs for next year for folks that are either retiring or moving to Arizona or whatever that might be. So hopefully we'll see how it goes. We've never really attended a job fair like this. Kind of something new for us. But they have been on the ball. They have all kinds of swag. Tomorrow night is our first community bond committee. So I think we have 26 members on this group, led by Scott Rose, half community members, half staff. We have 4 meetings scheduled. We're rotating between buildings. First one's tomorrow night, 6 to 8 in the middle school. We'll go through that process over the next several months. I'll keep you updated. And then the last thing is, which I touched on earlier, Division 22. Each year we do Division 22. There's like 58 standards. We need to report compliant or not. I reported this non-compliant when we did this, I think it's November, in one area, and that was around maintaining our 3-year asbestos report. It hadn't been done in like 6 years or something. So hired a firm, got it done. We've got all the final reports back now. I reported to ODE that we are compliant. They marked us off. We're good to go. If anybody's interested in seeing one of those, let me know. Now that we have those, we've got a little clearer structure on what our maintenance facilities director needs to have. He's going to a 2-day training in Portland. And then he just has to have an annual refresher online thing. What kind of training our custodians have to have. We're adding training to the annual online trainings that all employees do. Ms. Smith, we researched what they offer. Have this guy that did our assessment pick out the one that's best for them. So now when they come back to work over the summer in our, for example, employee access to take the regular sexual harassment training, bloodborne pathogen training. For our custodians, they'll have this asbestos training that they'll do annually. So we're back in compliance there. Have a good report, gained a lot of information, and it gave us the structure to, if we wanted to abate these specific areas, we could, and that's something we might pursue. We also could just leave it as is. We'll see. And that's all I have.
All right, thank you. Discussion items. So the first one up is 2022 and 2023 calendar adjustments.
Yeah, so again, one of the Division 22 requirements that I mentioned was instructional hours, right? For each grade level, I believe it's K5 is 900, 6-8 is 990, 9-11 is 990, and 12th grade is 966. Those are the amount of hours that a kid has to be in their seat, not passing time, not lunchtime, not breaks, to getting instruction. We had 3 snow days and 4 late starts. One of the late starts happened on an early release, so that didn't cost us any time, so we just went late. So basically 3 full school days, 3 late starts, added up that time, and that got us to where we needed to add 1 school day to make sure next November I can report this as being compliant this year in instructional hours. We could just add 1 day at the end of the school year. Nobody would like that. Parents, kids, teachers, to say we're coming back on Monday to have kids for 1 day. So what happens is I meet with the association and try to negotiate. They have something in their contract, for example, May 26th was a day that teachers, a Friday, the day before Memorial Day weekend, the Friday before Memorial Day weekend, that they had in their contract, that was a work sampling day for them to work on work samples, which is a task K-12 teachers have to do. So again, met with them, agreed they would give up that day, and we'll make that a student contact day. So the proposal, another thing, it's not, doesn't really reflect in the calendar, but no, our seniors are much tighter. And so because they get out 8 days prior to everybody else, Tuesday, and they have graduation Friday, and everybody else goes the rest of the week, they're actually going to have to attend a couple more days, Wednesday and Thursday, with graduation Friday. It doesn't result in a calendar change, that's why you don't need to approve it. But our seniors will be in class stay on campus 2 more days. But we're trying to make it palatable that they'll have finals just in the morning, and in the afternoon they'll do graduation practice. So they'll have to come in separate for that. But the other change, besides making May 26th a school day, will be we're going to make it early release and make Wednesday a full school day that week. The reason being, we thought with families leaving town and or teachers leaving town, it would be helpful if Friday they could get out a little bit early, kids could get out early. So what the proposal is here is the calendar change will be Wednesday, May 24th, making it a full school day, not early release, adding Friday as an early release day. So the net change there is we're adding 1 school day, which is 6 hours, which will get us compliant. So in the fall, we can report folks have enough seat hours.
And for all leaders to come to.
So that's what I'm looking to approve. If it is approved tonight, tomorrow, it will be on the schedule to promote this as many ways as possible, get it out Parent Square website, social media, to make sure parents, kids know of this change, and we'll continue to, we have 6-7 weeks, so we have plenty of time, but we'll get out the information quickly.
All right, any questions?
No.
This does require board action.
I make a motion to approve the calendar adjustment, adding Friday, May 26th in as the extra day and early release on Friday.
Second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. And next up is the 55th Annual Distinguished Service Award.
Are you going to tell us who got those awards, or do we have to?
Sure, you.
Yeah.
I don't know, what am I sharing here? So this is, the community local thing that takes place this year. They bounce around. The last couple of years, it's been at the Fern Ridge Community Center. You know the exact date?
It's this Thursday.
Okay, so this Thursday, if you wanted to attend, we nominate, there's 3 students. 2, I think, are 12th graders, first citizen and community builder. And then one's an 11th grader, an emerging first student. So high school staff, they vote on who to recognize. Do you have the names? You can share. Then we recognize a teacher, a classified staff member, and a district office admin person.
Where was it at this year?
What's that?
Where was it at?
Lori will tell you.
It's at the service center.
What is it again? Okay.
Service center. The exact time.
7.
Our administrator this year is Joel Smith. new vice principal, athletic director at the high school. The teacher is Elizabeth Skinzik, elementary teacher at Elmira Elementary. Does a lot of work with our district wellness committee. And the classified staff member is middle school IA Shipping Cooper. So those,
Volunteer.
oh yeah, and volunteer is from Benita Elementary.
Haley Rodriguez.
Who is it?
Haley Rodriguez. So volunteer of the year, teacher, classified, administrator, and 3 students. So all of them have been notified, the students, just to get their names on the record, are the emerging future first student is Iris Fromm. So she's a junior. And the 2 seniors are Lucy Mitchum and Grace Story. So they'll get recognized there. They got all invitations. We also, just so you know, lots of people were nominated. So we'll take the classified list. There was 5 or 6 people nominated. The people who were nominated but weren't selected, they all got letters from me acknowledging that they were nominated, thanking them, etc. And so, what's that?
No blizzard?
Yeah, no blizzard. And anyway, so these folks will be there Thursday night to receive their award. At least they were invited, because they don't have to show up. And again, annual thing that we do as a part of. It's mostly Kiwanis, I think, the Chamber of Commerce that took this
All right, great. Next up is first reading of a couple of policies and administrative rules.
Yeah, so these, just to give you a little background, our interdistrict transfer policy was just out of date. We weren't even, it was complicated, wasn't clean. So I downloaded kind of some best practice stuff from OSBA, gave it to the elementary principals, said, go for it, clean this up, make it understandable and simple in 1 page, and they did that. We had a couple Zooms, bounced some ideas back and forth, and this is where we're at. It's what this addresses is kids that, for example, live in Benita, but want to attend Elmira, or live in Elmira and want to attend Benita. So it clearly identifies what the process is, then you apply. Once you're in, you get to stay in. How does it affect the siblings when the next kid comes up? Are they automatically in? All this kind of stuff.
All right. We'll move on to personnel. So licensed employees, resignation, new hires, transfers, and other. So we do have an adjustment that we need to have board action on for just we've already approved the resignation, but the date was has been changed since we approved that resignation. So we need to approve the resignation again with the new date.
So they're leaving early?
Yeah.
So do you need a board motion?
We do, yes.
I make a motion, we approve the adjusted date for Sienna Griggs, adjusting it to April 18, 2020.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Motion carries 5-0. And then we do have a report for non-licensed. We do not need board action on this. You have a few resignations and a new hire for a Title IA at Elmira Elementary School. All right. So at this time, we will move into executive session under ORS 192.6602I to review and evaluate the performance of the chief executive officer or any other public officer, employee, or staff member, unless the person whose performance is being reviewed and evaluated requests an open hearing, which has not been. There will be no decisions made during this session. After the session, we will come out of executive session back into regular session and move on with the agenda. So at this time, everyone but the board and superintendent and the executive or the administrative assistant will need to leave the room, please.
Yeah.
You have to. Thanks, Mr. All right, so we are back in regular session from executive session. I just want to reiterate that there were no decisions made during that executive session. And we are on item 11, which is the resolution 22-23/10 superintendent's contract extension, which does require board action.
I move that we pass the resolution 22-23/10 as written.
We have a motion and a second to pass the resolution. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0. Any late items or closing comments?
One comment that I have is that when no one comes to our meeting, then I don't feel the need to have, say, Juana explain what triple pay is, or, and so.
I'm glad you did.
I'm glad you did too. It was a good refresher for all of us.
Yeah.
So thanks.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Well, good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Ms. Smith has to get home a little bit.
Yes.
All right. If there's nothing else, we will adjourn. Thank you. Thank you.